powerful woman in a navy suit steps out of her car, unaware that in just minutes, everything will change. A street stop that should have lasted 2 minutes turns into something much darker because the officer doesn't recognize her. He sees a black woman alone and makes a terrible decision. But what he doesn't know? She's the new deputy state attorney, and she's been assigned to investigate him. He slams her to the ground, convinced he's untouchable, but one phone call flips the power dynamic. His career, his secrets, the very department protecting him, all suddenly at risk. As the truth begins to surface, long-buried corruption inside the police force starts to crack open. Now she's the threat, and they know it. But this isn't just about one officer. It's about a system built on silence, and Tasha Reed isn't staying silent. She's smart, trained, and has nothing to lose. Her mission? Bring accountability to a city that's learned to look the other way. But with powerful forces watching her every move, the question becomes, can one woman's courage shift the balance, or will she be taken down before the truth gets out? Before we continue, let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from, and subscribe, because tomorrow's story is even bigger. It all started on a quiet drive through downtown Fairgrove. The sun was low, shadows stretching across the sidewalks. Tasha had just come from visiting her father's grave. She was driving his old Buick, 20 years old, but spotless. Her colleagues teased her about it, but the car held meaning. Every ride felt like a memory. Sunday mornings, law school tears, the day she passed the bar. He worked overtime to put her through school. This car reminded her what real strength looked like. Wearing her tailored suit, she looked every inch the attorney she had fought to become. The badge in her bag read, Deputy State Attorney. 3 weeks into the job, and already heading to review misconduct cases, including one name she hadn't told anyone yet, Officer Brent Maddox. She didn't expect to meet him this way. A flash of red and blue in the rear view pulled her back to the moment. Her pulse quickened, not fear, just that instinct she wished she didn't still have. She wasn't speeding. No laws broken. She followed every rule she advised clients to follow. Tasha pulled over carefully, hands on the wheel, visible, still. The officer stepped out. Broad frame, heavy boots, posture like he owned the street. She recognized him instantly, Maddox. His file was on her desk, dozens of complaints. Nothing ever stuck. He tapped the window hard with his flashlight, the beam hitting her eyes. "Roll it down!" he barked. She stayed calm, voice firm. "Officer, may I reach for my license?" His response came fast. I said license and registration. "You deaf?" The light lingered on the photo of her father clipped to her visor, then back to her face. Her father once told her, stay calm, stay smart, stay alive. But today, staying calm might not be enough. Because this isn't just another traffic stop. This is the moment everything begins to unravel. He kept tapping the flashlight against her window. Each metallic click felt louder than the last. The tension was sharp, almost physical. Tasha moved slowly, deliberately, keeping her hands visible. "I'm reaching for my license now, Officer Maddox." That name made him pause. "How do you know my name?" he snapped, the beam of his flashlight jerking toward her hands. "I've seen you testify in court," she answered calmly. "I work at the—" "Shut up and hand over the ID," he barked, cutting her off. Tasha handed him her license and gently reached toward the glove box. "The registration is in here," she explained. He snatched the card from her hand, squinting under the flashlight. His expression changed, a slow, condescending sneer spreading across his face. "This your car, Ms. Reed?" "It was my father's. It's registered in my name now." "Right," he said, dragging the word out like a challenge. "Where'd your father get a Buick like this? These were luxury back in the day." Tasha felt her chest tighten, but kept her tone composed. "He worked hard. He earned everything he had. Officer Maddox, is there a reason you pulled me over?" He stepped closer, body blocking the street lamp, and leaned into her window. "You got an attitude problem, Ms. Reed? I don't like your tone. I'm simply asking why I was stopped. I have a right to know." His jaw locked. You were swerving, crossing the center line. That's not true, Tasha replied, her voice firm. I was driving straight. You can check your dash cam. Are you calling me a liar? His voice dropped low, threatening. Step out of the vehicle. I decline, officer. I've done nothing wrong and I don't consent to a search. I said out. He yanked the door handle. It was locked. With a loud smack, he slammed his palm against the frame. Out! Now! Tasha's heart pounded, but she stayed steady. I'm recording this interaction, she said clearly. You have no legal basis. That was the last straw. He backed up, unhooked his weapon, and shouted, Out of the car now, or I'll break this window and drag you out. Her training battled her instincts. With slow, precise movements, she unlocked the door. I'm complying under protest, she said. Under duress. The moment the latch clicked, Maddox lunged. He grabbed her by the arm and yanked her from the seat with so much force it twisted her shoulder painfully. He spun her around and slammed her against the car. You people always think you know the law, he growled, always running your mouths about rights. This is unlawful, she said through clenched teeth, her cheek pressed to the metal. You're violating federal protections under the color of authority. Shut up. He kicked her feet apart and drove his knee into her back. You steal this car? Tell the truth. Where'd you really get it? This is my car. My name is on the title, she tried to say, but he reached up and yanked her by the hair, throwing her off balance. She stumbled, and that was all he needed. He used her own momentum to slam her to the pavement. The impact knocked the wind out of her. Her face scraped the concrete, and blood pooled in her mouth as Maddox drove his knee into her spine, grinding down with all his weight. Cold metal closed around her wrists, tight enough to numb her hands. Stop resisting, he yelled, though she hadn't moved. Stop resisting. Voices rang out nearby. People had started gathering. Tasha blinked through the pain, saw phones pointed her way. She wasn't doing anything, someone called out. Back off, Maddox barked. Police business. Blood trickled from her lip. Tasha knew this wasn't just happening to her. It was being witnessed. She forced her voice steady. I am not resisting. I have done nothing wrong. This officer is using unnecessary force and violating my rights. Shut up, he barked again. He yanked her to her feet by the cuffs, pain shooting through her shoulders. She stumbled as he shoved her toward the cruiser. More phones came up. More witnesses. Even through the haze of pain and pressure, Tasha did what her father taught her. Observe everything. Memorize faces. Remember angles. This would matter. You're going to jail, Maddox whispered harshly as he pushed her forward. You're gonna learn real quick how this works. Tasha didn't flinch. Even as blood ran down her chin, she looked straight ahead and raised her voice for everyone to hear. It is now 6:42 p.m. on May 15th. I have been detained without cause. Officer Maddox has used force against me unlawfully. I am in pain and require medical assistance. Every phone was still filming. At the station, Maddox shoved her through the back entrance. Fluorescent lights buzzed. 2 other officers looked up, then looked again. They didn't recognize her yet, but they would. And by the time they did, it would already be too late. Behind the desk sat Officers Simmons and Hartley, glancing up with casual interest as Maddox strutted in like a man on a mission. Look what we got, boys, he said with a smirk, pushing Tasha forward. Another stolen car case. The car belongs to me, Tasha said firmly, standing as straight as her aching shoulders allowed. My license and registration confirm that. Maddox scoffed. Sure it does. He grabbed her arm again, steering her toward booking. Just like that smart mouth of yours belongs behind bars. Behind the counter, clerk Lisa Granger paused at the sight of Tasha. Her eyes widened at the clear injuries, the bruises, the swollen lip, the cuts. Jesus, Maddox, Simmons said, half joking. What did she do? Key your patrol car? Maddox laughed harshly. This one thought she could outtalk the badge. Had to teach her a lesson. He poked Tasha's shoulder hard, making her flinch. I need these injuries documented, Tasha said calmly, locking eyes with Lisa, and I require medical attention. She's fine, Maddox interrupted. Lisa, just skip the extra steps and book her. Resisting arrest. Vehicle theft, done. Lisa hesitated. I have to document visible injuries, Officer Maddox. That's policy. Since when do you care about policy? He snapped. Just finish it. The injuries need to be photographed, Lisa insisted, reaching under the desk for the camera. Maddox let out a loud sigh and roughly turned Tasha to face the lens. Fine. Show them how this one got herself bruised up. Lisa raised the camera. Her hands trembled slightly as she took the shots, the flash lighting up every wound. Make sure you get that shoulder too, Hartley called out, a flicker of discomfort in his voice. Looks like she's been yanked pretty hard. Maddox turned toward him. You got a problem with how I handle things, Hartley? Hartley looked down, avoiding eye contact. Just saying, maybe tone it down a little. Lisa finished the photos and sat back down at her keyboard. Full name, please. Tasha Marie Reed, she said clearly. Date of birth? March 12th, 1985. Maddox scoffed. Fake name, fake ID, fake car. No way someone like her could afford... Someone like me? Tasha cut in, her voice sharp but measured. Care to clarify, officer? You know exactly what I mean, he replied, grip tightening on her arm. Lisa slowed her typing, visibly uncomfortable. Occupation? She asked, trying to move forward. Before Tasha could speak, Maddox jumped in. Put down unemployed, probably riding taxpayer money like the rest of... Tasha interrupted again. Stop! Maddox chuckled. Oh, right. You want your one phone call? Be my guest. He finally let go of her arm and gestured to the wall-mounted phone with exaggerated mockery. Let me guess. Calling your public defender? Tasha stared at him. I can't dial with handcuffs on. With another scoff, he undid the cuffs, roughly, and shoved her toward the phone. Make it quick. Your cell's waiting. Her arms throbbed, circulation slow to return, but she rolled her shoulders back, chin high. He thought she was powerless, but he didn't realize who she was. She picked up the phone, ignoring Maddox's glares behind her. She moved with purpose, with training, and with quiet defiance. Her father's words echoed, never let them see you break. Go ahead, Maddox called out. Let's see who comes running. She dialed the number from memory. The line clicked. A voice answered. Jordan Hayes speaking. Jordan, it's Tasha, she said, voice steady. Execute emergency protocol 7, now. There was silence for a beat. Then urgency. Tasha, what's happening? Are you hurt? I'm at Fairgrove Central Station, she said calmly. I've been unlawfully detained and physically harmed by Officer Brent Maddox. The incident occurred on Oak Street, approximately 40 minutes ago. Behind her, Maddox scoffed again. Assault? Big words for... Tasha kept going. Louder. The entire encounter is backed by civilian video. The footage has already been uploaded to my secure cloud. Access code Sierra November 41. Please ensure it is preserved. Jordan's fingers were audible through the phone. I'm pulling it now. Oh my God, Tasha. Your face. Act quickly, she said, unwavering. Inform Chief Prosecutor Bennett immediately. Every second counts. Copy that. I'm looping in Elaine. We've got you. More clicking. Footage is secured. Medical attention? Yes, Tasha confirmed. Urgently. Your request is currently being denied, Maddox growled, stepping in close again, his posture all intimidation. Wrap it up. You've had your call. Jordan, please move fast, Tasha said, steady as ever. And contact Internal Affairs immediately. Maddox lunged for the phone, but she turned smoothly away, holding her ground. Don't make this worse for yourself, he muttered. I'm ending the call now, she said into the receiver. Jordan, act fast. She placed the phone gently back on the hook, turned, and looked Maddox in the eye. Thank you, officer, for honoring my legal right to a phone call. His expression twisted with disbelief. You think you're clever, huh? Throwing around big words like you're somebody? I haven't made any threats, Tasha replied. Only documented your actions, which I have a right to do. The room had shifted. Lisa at the desk looked anxious. Even Simmons and Hartley had stopped pretending to type. Everyone was watching now. "Your rights?" Maddox barked. "Your rights are what I say they are, and right now you're going in a cell until I say otherwise." He reached for her again, but the front door slammed open. Captain Roger Clean stormed into the room, his face red, tie crooked, voice already booming. "Maddox!" he shouted, his voice cracking like a whip through the silence. "What the hell is going on here?" Maddox spun around. "Captain, I was just processing this suspect for—" "This suspect?" Clean thundered. "Do you even know who you just laid hands on?" She was trying to pass off a car as— "That is Deputy State Attorney Natasha Reed," Clean shouted, pointing at Tasha, his hand actually trembling. "Appointed by Governor Williams to oversee misconduct investigations, including ours." The silence was instant. Lisa's hand flew to her mouth. Simmons dropped his mug. Hartley whispered, stunned, "Deputy State Attorney?" "The same attorney who is scheduled to begin reviewing this department next month," Clean continued, his voice rising again. "The same woman whose swearing-in I attended last week." Tasha stood tall and composed, not a word, just watching Maddox's world crumble. "Captain, I didn't—" "Shut your mouth," Cleanus snapped, "before you dig even deeper." He turned to Tasha, trying to regain control. "Ms. Reed, I can't even begin to—" "Captain," she interrupted, voice cool and cutting, "I believe Officer Maddox was about to place me in a holding cell. Should we continue with that? Or has my position in the justice system suddenly changed?" The words hit like a brick wall. Maddox stood frozen. Lisa stared at her screen, fingers hovering midair. Clean's mouth opened, then closed again. "That won't be necessary, Ms. Reed," he finally said. "You're, of course, free to go. And I assure you, this incident will be documented," Tasha finished for him. "Yes, every moment of it." She turned to Lisa. "Please ensure the injury photos are filed correctly. I'll need digital and physical copies sent to my office immediately." Lisa nodded quickly. "Yes, ma'am." Maddox shifted awkwardly behind them, the cockiness long gone. "Ms. Reed," he said suddenly, almost pleading, "there's been a misunderstanding. If I had known—" "If you had known who I was," she asked, cutting him off, "would that have changed how you treated me? Should it have?" He had no answer. His mouth opened, then closed again. His forehead beaded with sweat. "Captain Clean," Tasha said calmly, turning toward him, "I'll need Officer Maddox's body cam footage, dash cam recordings, and full transcription of any radio traffic from the incident." Clean nodded. "Absolutely. Officer Hartley will—" "I'd prefer Officer Maddox handle it himself," Tasha said, "under your direct supervision." Maddox paled again. "Ms. Reed, I don't think—" "Your body cam is still on, correct?" she asked, one eyebrow raised. "Department policy requires it remain active through the end of any incident." Maddox instinctively touched his chest. "Yes, it's still recording." "Good," Tasha said. "Then let's begin." Clean cleared his throat. "Officer Maddox, proceed to the evidence room. Now." Slumped and silent, Maddox obeyed. Clean followed close behind. Tasha remained at the booking desk. "Ms. Granger," she said softly. Lisa jumped a little. "Yes?" "Please make sure the images show the injuries to my wrists and the bruising on my face clearly." Lisa nodded quickly, her voice barely a whisper. "Yes, ma'am. I'm very sorry about all this." "Don't be sorry," Tasha said. "Be thorough." In the evidence room, Maddox fumbled with the camera cable, his hands trembling. Clean stood behind him, arms crossed. "This footage better be complete," Clean warned, "because if anything's missing—" "It's all there," Maddox mumbled, though without any conviction. The files began transferring to the secure server. Then, heels on tile, Tasha entered the room. Both men stiffened. "I trust everything is proceeding as required?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," Cleany answered quickly. "We're following full procedure." "Excellent," Tasha replied, holding up her phone, "because my office has just confirmed that the civilian footage is now secured. Multiple angles, excellent quality, very clear audio. Behind her words was a message no one missed. Nothing is going to disappear." At the terminal, Maddox's fingers slipped. Hartley, too. He tried to speak up. They're not all part of the problem. Some of them just need permission to stop being silent. Elaine nodded slowly, the weight of it all settling in. This isn't just about one bad cop. You're going after the whole machine. I'm not doing it for revenge, Tasha said, voice quiet but resolute. I'm doing it because no one else ever stayed long enough to clean house. I plan to stay. The sun continued streaming in through the windows, golden light cutting across the documents on the desk. Evidence, timelines, sworn statements, numbers that told a story the department had tried for years to bury. Tasha stood slowly, still sore from the bruises Maddox had left, but her voice never wavered. I've made my decision. Now we move. Elaine stood too. I'll contact the judge, start drafting the injunction. If we're going to do this, we do it right, Tasha finished. With the law, with the truth, and with every camera we've got. A silence passed between them, not out of doubt, but out of understanding. A line had been crossed, and now a new one would be drawn. Outside the building, the city moved on like nothing had happened. Cars passed. People hurried to work. But inside the state attorney's office, a quiet revolution had begun. By nightfall, press statements would be drafted. By morning, subpoenas would be delivered. And before the week was out, the name Brent Maddox wouldn't be the only one under review, because Tasha Reed had walked into a trap. But she came out carrying the blueprint to dismantle it, not just for herself, but for everyone the system thought it could break. And silence. Her breath, blinking back tears. When Officer Maddox pulled over, he said Diego was trespassing, but Diego wasn't even near that property. He was 2 blocks from our house. I begged the department for answers. They said he resisted. They said it was justified. She flipped to a photo of her son in a hospital bed, his face swollen, eyes bruised shut. This, she whispered, was justified? Tasha sat silently, letting the weight of Maria's pain fill the space. Then she said softly, "You don't have to carry this alone anymore." Maria closed the album and nodded, still trembling. If it helps stop him from hurting someone else, then yes. I'll speak. I'll do whatever you need. Gracias, Maria. Tu voz importa. Tu hijo importa. Maria's eyes welled with tears. For the first time in years, someone believed her, really believed her. After Maria left, Tasha sat alone in the quiet center, her recorder still running, her notes filled with names, dates, truths that had been ignored for too long. She stared at the photo of Diego, then Henry's case details. It wasn't just data. These were lives. These were voices buried under fear and silence, now rising. She glanced at the door as it opened again. Another victim had come forward. And behind them, more would follow. This wasn't just a report anymore. It was a movement. It stays with Maria. It stays with every family that's ever been told their loved one was aggressive or non-compliant or a threat when all they were trying to do was live. Tasha paused, letting the quiet hang in the cool air. The crowd listened, unmoving, the weight of every word sinking into their bones. I wasn't the first, she said, and I won't be the last, unless we do something, unless we demand better, and unless we hold those in power accountable. She raised the candle in her hand. This flame is for Diego, for Henry, for every voice that was silenced, and for those who are finally speaking. A soft murmur rippled through the crowd, people lifting their candles, one by one, until the entire courtyard shimmered in warm, defiant light. I can promise you this, Tasha continued. The cases won't be buried, the names won't be forgotten, and the system that allowed this pain will be brought into the light, because we don't just want justice for one victim. We want transformation for everyone. Applause rose, not loud or performative, but deep and steady, a communal exhale, a moment of unity. From the edge of the crowd, Maria Ortiz clutched her daughter's hand and whispered, "He'd be proud." And near the front, Henry Wallace wiped a tear from his eye and stood a little straighter. Tasha stepped back from the microphone, not as a symbol, but as a woman among others who had chosen not to be silent. This wasn't the end, it was only the beginning. Tasha's voice echoed across the quiet crowd, each word deliberate, heavy with truth. 3 days ago, I was pulled over while driving my father's old car. The officer who stopped me didn't ask questions. He didn't show concern. He saw a black woman and decided that was enough. The air was still, the only sound the soft flicker of hundreds of candles. He didn't know who I was. He didn't care. He threw me to the ground, screamed commands I was already following, and used force that was never justified. But I'm not here to talk just about myself, because what happened to me wasn't rare. It wasn't shocking, and that's exactly the problem. She paused, looking out at the faces before her. Survivors, family members, activists, children holding candles far too heavy for their hands. These bruises, she said, gently touching her cheek, they'll heal. But the pain of being silenced, of being dehumanized, of watching injustice repeat generation after generation, that doesn't fade. People began to nod quietly. Some wiped their eyes, others squeezed loved ones' hands. It stays with Henry Wallace, she continued, her voice rising slightly, who was slammed to the ground walking home with groceries. It stays with Maria Ortiz, whose son Diego was shot before he could even explain he was reaching for a phone to call his mother. It stays with every person in this city who has been told their story doesn't matter, that their voice isn't enough, that justice isn't for them. Tasha looked down at the candle in her hands. But it ends here. She raised the candle high. Its light caught the shadows of her bruises, not as weakness, but as proof. This flame is for Diego. It's for every child who never made it home. It's for every mother still waiting for answers. It's for every case that was ignored, every report that was buried, every life reduced to a headline or nothing at all. Candles across the crowd lifted with hers one by one until the steps of the church glowed like a sea of stars. I didn't come here tonight as a victim, Tasha said. I came here as a fighter. I came here as a public servant, and I came here to say, no more. No more silence. No more cover-ups. No more fear. The applause was slow at first, software reverent, but then it grew, not like a cheer, but like a heartbeat. Steady, powerful, alive. Tasha stepped back from the microphone, and Gloria stepped in beside her, whispering, "You didn't just speak for them, you became them." And somewhere in the crowd, Maria Ortiz held her daughter close and said softly, "Diego would have liked her. She's like him, brave." Henry Wallace placed his candle on the church steps beside dozens of others and stood a little taller. And in that moment, the bruised deputy state attorney, the one they tried to silence, became something much more, a symbol, a spark, and the beginning of a storm no one in Fairgrove would be able to ignore. The flame Tasha lit at the vigil had sparked something far greater than she anticipated. It stayed with Henry Wallace, 72 years old, slammed to the pavement for walking home. It stayed with Maria Ortiz, who heard her son Diego's final breath through a phone call, and now found herself standing before a crowd, holding a candle instead of his hand. And it stayed with Tasha as she stood before hundreds, faces glowing with quiet anger and long-held pain. Her voice grew stronger, no longer speaking as a victim, but as a leader. "Today I listened to story after story," she told them, "of lives damaged or destroyed by officers who forgot their oath to serve, officers who thought their badge made them untouchable, officers protected by silence." She let the quiet sit there, a pause not of hesitation but power. "That silence ends now." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Amen. That's right. Say it." "As Deputy State Attorney," she continued, "I am launching a full investigation into Officer Maddox, into every excessive force complaint ever dismissed, into every threat used to keep victims quiet, into every single cover-up this city has buried." Applause broke through the candlelit crowd. Some clapped, others wept. Many just nodded, too overwhelmed to speak, but fully present. "I need your help," Tasha said. "This can't just be my fight. I need your stories, your courage, your truth. Together, we can break this cycle. Together, we can make sure what happened to me, to Diego, to Mr. Wallace, never happens again. Gloria Fields stepped forward beside her, raising a candle high. If you've been a victim or a witness, step forward, she said. Ms. Reed's office has opened a special hotline. You will be protected. You will be heard. The crowd surged, not with chaos, but with quiet urgency. People pressing forward to speak. Some cried. Some shared their stories in whispers. Others just touched Tasha's hand, needing no words at all. But someone else was watching. Half a block away, parked in a black sedan, Officer Brent Maddox sat stone-faced behind the wheel, his knuckles pale from gripping the steering wheel too hard. The candlelight from the vigil flickered in the distance, reflecting in his eyes, not as warmth, but as a threat. He raised his phone. "You seeing this circus?" he growled. Sergeant Draper's voice crackled through the speaker. "I'm watching. This woman's going to tear it all down. All these people coming forward. They're going to dig up every file," Maddox muttered. "Every report." Draper's voice turned cold. "Calm down. We've handled this before. We'll handle this now." "Not like this. She's not just a lawyer. She's got the community." "She's also got a past," Draper said. "We're already digging into her law school records. That incident she buried, it's time to bring it back." "What about her mental state?" Maddox asked, thinking quickly. "After what happened, she's probably unstable, emotional, maybe even paranoid. That's how we spin it." "Now you're thinking?" Draper chuckled. "Let me work, but keep quiet. No press, no patrols, nothing to link this back." Maddox hung up. Outside, the crowd had begun to sing. A protest hymn. Tasha stood under the glow of their hope. Maddox stared at her figure, illuminated by dozens of candles. "Enjoy your moment," he muttered, "while it lasts." The next morning, the news in Tasha's kitchen blared as she poured her coffee. Deputy State Attorney Tasha Reed's powerful speech last night has ignited a citywide reckoning, anchor Sarah Chen reported, standing outside the church. But not everyone is applauding. The broadcast cut to protests outside the police department, signs reading, "Justice for Tasha," "Stop Police Brutality," and "We Believe Survivors." Then the screen flipped. Frank Delaney, Maddox's attorney, silver-haired, crisp-suited, stepped up to a podium. "While we sympathize with Ms. Reed's emotional trauma," he said smoothly, "her claims are exaggerated and damaging. Officer Maddox is a decorated officer with over 15 years of service." Tasha's phone buzzed. "Jordan, you seeing this?" he asked. "I'm watching," Tasha replied, sipping her bitter coffee. "It's starting." "It gets worse. Flip to Channel 7. She did. A new anchor standing outside the courthouse. Sources suggest Deputy State Attorney Reed has a documented history of mental health issues dating back to law school. Critics are now questioning whether her allegations stem from delusion, not reality. Tasha's grip tightened on her mug. They were really going there. Back on screen, Delaney appeared again. Her recent behavior, the dramatics, the inflammatory claims, the accusations against respected officers, all raise concerns about her fitness for office. "You okay, boss?" Jordan asked gently. Tasha closed her eyes for a moment. "They're following the oldest play in the book," she said. "Discredit the victim, protect the system, make her look emotional, unhinged, angry." "The Herald just ran a front-page hit piece," Jordan added. "They're using words like unstable, unprofessional, it's ugly." Tasha turned up the volume. Protesters were flooding the police headquarters now. Across the screen, riot police stood shoulder to shoulder in full gear. "Get me everything on Frank Delaney," Tasha said. Her voice was clear now, ice cold. "I want his court history, his media ties, every department he's ever defended. Because this time, they picked the wrong woman to silence, had leaked a private email thread, and it was spreading fast." Jordan turned the screen toward her. Tasha leaned in, her fingers still resting on Samson's fur. The thread was dated 3 weeks ago, days before her appointment was publicly announced. At the top, subject, Reed's background, quiet strategy. The sender, Frank Delaney at legalops.net. Multiple recipients. Names she recognized. Police union lawyers, internal affairs officers, even someone from the mayor's campaign staff. She scrolled. If Reed gets traction with this oversight push, we're exposed. Too many closed files, too many bad headlines. We'll need to move quickly. I suggest we preemptively question her stability. There's material from her law school days. She's ambitious but volatile. We can spin that. Encourage Maddox to provoke. Document it. If she reacts emotionally, we push the unfit for office narrative. Local press will run it. Already spoke with the Herald editor. They're on board. Tasha's hands curled into fists. They planned this, all of it. Jordan nodded. And there's more. The file was leaked anonymously. We're still tracking the source, but it's making the rounds on social media and picked up by 2 news blogs already. This is a coordinated takedown. Tasha stared at the screen, jaw tightening. And now they're targeting my home, my dog, my safety. Jordan looked over at Samson. Still breathing, hooked up to fluids, pale gums barely pink. This is personal now. No, Tasha said coldly. It's always been personal. Dr. Kim returned, glancing at the monitors. He's stable for now. If we got to him in time, the antidote should work. But the next 12 hours are critical. Tasha brushed her fingers over Samson's head gently. He's a fighter, like the rest of us. She turned to Jordan, voice low and deliberate. Get this leak to Bennett. I want this thread entered into the official complaint. I want every journalist who ran those hit pieces subpoenaed. I want the Herald editor under oath. And I want Frank Delaney disbarred. Jordan hesitated. Tasha, that'll trigger a legal war. Tasha looked him dead in the eye, then let it. Later that morning, the state attorney's press room was packed. Reporters buzzed with speculation. Whispers swirled. Would she resign? Was she in hiding? Would she even show up? Then the door opened. Tasha Reed entered, wearing the same navy suit, her hair pinned tight, her bruises visible, her eyes clear and sharp. She stepped to the podium. I won't be long, she said into the mic, and I won't be silent. The room quieted instantly. In the past 72 hours, I've endured physical assault, public smear campaigns, and now a targeted act of violence against me and my home. She held up a photo of her porch, defaced, then one of Samson, hooked to a vet's IV. But I'm still here, and I'm not backing down. She clicked to the next slide, a screenshot of the leaked email thread. This is what they're really afraid of. Truth, exposure, accountability. She looked directly into the cameras. They want to paint me as unstable, angry, dangerous. But here's the truth. I'm a black woman doing her job, holding power accountable, and that makes me dangerous to them. She paused, then finished. You tried to break me, but all you did was prove why I was hired in the first place. We're not done. We're just getting started. The room exploded in shouts, questions, and camera flashes. But Tasha had already walked off stage, calm, poised, and one step ahead. Through his beard and eyes that scanned the room like a man who'd seen too much and trusted too few, he slid into the booth across from Tasha without removing his coat, just nodding once in acknowledgement. I read every line of your file last night, he said without preamble. You've made powerful enemies. Tasha met his gaze evenly. They made themselves. Ellison gave the faintest hint of a smile. You've stirred something bigger than Maddox. That leak, it wasn't meant to just discredit you. It was a warning shot, designed to scare off witnesses, destabilize your case, maybe destabilize you. It nearly worked, she admitted. But instead of backing down, I called you. Ellison placed a manila folder on the table between them. You were right to. We've been circling around this corruption for over a year. Whispers of cover-ups, ghost payments from the police union to DA staff, missing evidence in brutality cases. But we never had a solid link, until now. He opened the folder, revealing printed bank records, a timeline of communications, and a photo of Assistant DA David Chen leaving a parking garage. Time-stamped, connected. 3 wire transfers from a shell company tied to the union, Ellison explained. Each one hits his account after a suspicious case dismissal. But what's worse is that burner phone you flagged. It's been used to contact Delaney, Maddox, and 2 officers in internal affairs. Tasha exhaled slowly. So they're building a firewall inside the system. Exactly, Ellison said, and it's been working until you stepped in. Tasha sipped her coffee, bitter and lukewarm. They poisoned my dog, spray-painted my house, leaked confidential files. They've tried everything but a direct hit because they don't want me dead. They want me discredited, useless. Ellison nodded. And if they can't discredit you, they'll isolate you. That's why we go public before they do. I'll open a joint state-level investigation today, officially, with jurisdiction over the Fair County DA's office and the police department. I need federal witness protection for at least 6 people, Tasha said, sliding a list across the table. They were named in the leaked documents. One of them, a 17-year-old girl, was threatened last night. You'll have it, Ellison said, standing. You just started a war. You ready to finish it? Tasha looked out the window, where early sunlight had started burning through the fog. I've been ready since the moment Maddox slammed me to the ground. Later that day, the press conference was broadcast across every major local network. The seal of the state attorney general stood behind Tasha Reed and Marcus Ellison as they addressed the cameras. This is not about one officer, Tasha said, her voice steady, powerful. This is about an entire system that protects power at the expense of truth, that silences victims to protect reputations, that poisons dogs, leaks files, and weaponizes fear. She turned slightly, speaking not to the cameras, but to the city itself. I won't be intimidated. I won't be quiet. And I will not stop until every layer of this corruption is exposed. Ellison stepped forward. Starting today, this office will conduct a full investigation into the Fair County District Attorney's Office and its relationship with law enforcement. No position, no rank, no badge will shield those who abused their power. Cameras flashed, journalists shouted questions, and far across the city, behind closed doors, phones were picked up, messages erased, shredders turned on. But it was too late. The investigation had become a reckoning. Aggressive posture, and attempted to flee. They rewrote the narrative, just enough to justify force. Tasha's stomach turned as she compared the 2 reports. This wasn't just about language. This was a pattern, a practiced routine. Jordan nodded. He did this over and over, changed the story, covered himself, and the department signed off on it every time. Ellison crossed his arms, face grim. That's perjury, tampering, falsifying official documents. Add that to the surveillance footage, the slurs on tape, the payoff photos, and the poisoned dog. We're past misconduct. We're into federal crime territory now. Tasha leaned back in her chair, exhaustion tugging at her, but purpose keeping her upright. You said people were reaching out. Officers, ex-cops, witnesses. They're ready to talk? Ellison nodded. They're scared, but your courage is contagious. One spark started this. Now the whole house is lighting up. Jordan turned the laptop around again. There's something else. Hidden folder, encrypted, but I cracked it. The screen displayed a single file name, Red List. Tasha frowned. What is that? Jordan opened it. Inside was a spreadsheet with names, case numbers, photos. Some were crossed out in red. Most had notes next to them. Wallace, Henry, watch list / non-compliant, file archived. Ortiz, Diego, resolved, weaponized narrative, no follow-up. Martinez, Sandra, ongoing monitoring recommended. Reed, Tasha, flagged, high risk, neutralize if necessary. Silence fell over the room like a shroud. Ellison swore under his breath. They were tracking their victims, planning who to silence. You weren't just a threat, you were a target. Tasha stared at the screen, the digital glow reflecting off her tired but unshaken eyes. All this time, she whispered. "We thought they were just reacting, but they were organizing." Jordan clicked to the last tab. It contained budget lines, reimbursement requests, off-the-book expenses. One line stood out: security contract renewal, Black Tower Group, Delaney signature, approved by D. Chen. Ellison sat forward. They weren't just covering up. They were building infrastructure to keep it going. A knock at the door broke the silence. One of Ellison's agents stepped in. "Ma'am, we've got Lisa Granger and 3 officers ready for deposition. They're at the safe house, and they brought receipts, recordings, memos, internal emails." Tasha stood, fire burning in her chest. "Let's get them on record." As they walked down the hallway of the temporary state office, Ellison looked over. "You're turning this city upside down," he said quietly. Tasha didn't stop walking. "Good. Maybe it's time the truth was finally right side up."